The sky above the Forbidden's Valley was dark, even in daytime. Thick black clouds covered the sun, and the air felt heavy, as if something dangerous was breathing inside the valley. Ryan Hawley, a human explorer with a calm face and a quiet heart, stood at the edge of the cliff and looked down. Everyone had warned him not to enter this place. Every alien he met told him stories of people who went inside and never returned. But Ryan was not here for treasure, fame, or adventure. He was here because he had heard a small rumor. 2 alien children had been seen running into the valley 3 days ago. And no one had seen them come out. Most people gave up. Most soldiers refused to step inside, but Ryan could not walk away. He had a simple heart that could never ignore a child in danger. So he took a deep breath, tightened the straps of his old backpack, and stepped into the Forbidden's Valley. The moment he entered, everything changed. The wind stopped. The trees stopped moving. Even the insects and birds went silent. It felt like the whole valley was holding its breath, watching him. Ryan walked carefully, his boots stepping on dead leaves and broken bones scattered across the ground. Strange symbols were carved into rocks, warning anyone who passed. Turn back. Do not go further. But Ryan kept going. The deeper he walked, the stranger the valley became. The trees grew twisted like they were trying to run away from something. Ruins of old buildings stood half-buried, covered in claw marks. He saw giant footprints on the ground so large that one print could crush his entire body. Yet he did not stop. He needed to find the children before something else found them. Then he heard it. A small, weak cry. He froze. At first he thought it was the wind. But the sound came again, shaky, scared, almost broken. It sounded like a child. No, 2 children. Ryan began running toward the sound, pushing through thick branches and dust-filled air. His heart beat faster. His hands tightened around the broken chain he had found earlier near the ruins. He didn't know why he kept it, but somehow it felt important to hold on to something metallic and strong in this cursed place. After a few minutes of searching, he reached a clearing. And what he saw made his blood run cold. 2 small alien twins, a boy and a girl no older than 6, were hiding behind a tall stone pillar. Their bodies shook with fear. Their eyes were wide and filled with tears. They were whispering something, holding each other tightly, and in front of them stood a creature. No, not one creature, many. They moved like smoke, but had bodies like shadows. Their jaws glowed with blue fire, and their long arms ended in razor-sharp claws. These were the monsters of the Forbidden's Valley, the reason everyone feared this place. No human or alien had ever survived an encounter with them. Ryan didn't breathe. He didn't think. He didn't run. He stepped between the twins and the monsters. The ground shook as the shadow creatures turned to face him, their glowing eyes locked onto him, scanning him. They hissed loudly. Ryan took a slow breath and whispered to the children behind him, "Stay close. I won't let anyone hurt you." The twins looked up at him with disbelief. A human? Protecting them? The monsters moved closer, their bodies making no sound as they slid across the ground. One of them opened its burning jaws, ready to attack. Ryan lifted the metal chain, holding it tight. He knew this was his stupid weapon. He knew he should be running, but he stood firm. Suddenly, a roar exploded through the valley so loud that the stones cracked. More monsters crawled out of caves. More jumped from the trees. More rose from the ground as if the earth itself was waking them up. Ryan's eyes widened. There were not 10 monsters. Not 20, not 50, there were hundreds. The valley filled with glowing jaws and burning eyes. They formed a giant circle around Ryan and the twins, trapping them with no escape. The children began crying again, clinging to his legs. Ryan whispered, "It's okay. I'm here." The monsters roared again and charged. And the Forbidden's Valley, silent for many years, finally came alive with the sound of war. The monsters rushed forward like a black storm, their blue jaws burning in the darkness. Ryan felt the ground vibrate under their weight. Any normal human would have collapsed from fear. But Ryan didn't step back. He bent his knees, tightened his grip on the metal chain, and told the twins behind him, "Stay low. Don't move." The first monster reached him, swinging its claw at his throat. Ryan ducked and spun, letting the chain cut across its smoky body. The creature exploded into dust, leaving a blue spark floating in the air. Ryan didn't even watch it fall. Another monster lunged at him, then another, then another. Soon he was surrounded from all sides. He moved fast, faster than he had ever moved in his life. Each time he struck with the chain, a monster turned into smoke. Each time he dodged, a claw sliced through empty air instead of his skin. The twins watched with wide eyes, holding each other tightly. They had never seen a human fight like this before. No one had, but the monsters didn't stop. For every creature he defeated, 5 more came out of the shadows. They crawled down the walls. They fell from the trees. They rose from cracks in the ground. Their glowing jaws flashed in the dim light, creating a circle of blue fire on Ryan and the children. Ryan breathed hard. Sweat dripped down his forehead. His arms burned from the strain, and his legs felt heavy. But he refused to slow down. Each time his body screamed to rest, he forced himself to move again. He knew if he stopped for even 1 second, the children behind him would die. The monsters changed tactics. Instead of attacking one by one, they came in waves 10, then 20, then 30 at once. They attacked from above, from behind, from both sides. A monster grabbed Ryan's shoulder with its claws, leaving a deep cut that burned like acid. Ryan winced but didn't fall. He swung the chain, shattering its smoky form. Another monster jumped onto his back, wrapping its claws around his neck. Ryan slammed himself backward into a pillar, crushing the creature and breaking the stone behind him. Dust fell from the ceiling as more monsters hissed, their anger echoing through the valley ruins. The twins cried out, "Please don't die." "Please." Ryan turned his head just enough to see them. Their small faces were covered with dirt and tears. No child should see this. No child should feel such fear. Something inside Ryan ignited a fierce fire stronger than fear, stronger than pain. He began fighting with a new kind of force. His movements became sharper, cleaner, and faster. He used the environment, the broken pillars, the walls, the fallen stones to block attacks. He kicked a monster into a ruined wall, sending dust spreading through the air. He yanked another creature by the neck, smashing it against a boulder. The chain glowed from friction, almost red hot now. Minutes passed like hours. Dozens of monsters lay in ashes around him. But his body was weakening. His breath grew sharp. His grip trembled. There were still too many of them, maybe 100 more. A normal man would have fallen long ago. Then something unexpected happened. One of the twins, a small girl with silver eyes, placed her hand on the ground. She whispered something in her language, a soft melody. A faint green light surrounded her palm. Suddenly, Ryan felt a wave of strength rush into his body. His cuts stung less. His arms steadied. His breath returned. She had healing abilities. Ryan didn't ask how. He didn't question it. He simply nodded silently in gratitude and stepped forward again. He fought like a man reborn. His chain whipped through the air, creating arcs of bright sparks. More monsters fell. More turned into dust. The valley floor shook as their bodies collapsed into blue ashes. But the monsters were not just mindless beasts. They learned. They watched. They adapted. Soon they surrounded Ryan in a tighter circle, moving together like a single living shadow. Their jaws glowed brighter than before. Their bodies grew larger, as if the valley was feeding them power. Ryan stood in the center of the circle, blood dripping from his arms, dust covering his face, exhaustion heavy in his bones, but his eyes stayed strong. He whispered, "I'm not letting you touch them." Then the final wave charged. With the twins crying behind him and the valley roaring around him, Ryan raised his glowing chain and met the monsters head on. The ground exploded, the sky echoed with roars, and his figure vanished inside the cloud of smoke and blue fire. When the dust finally settled, not a single monster stood. And Ryan, bruised, bleeding, but still alive, looked up at the trembling twins. "It's over," he said softly. "You're safe." But deep inside the valley, a new roar awakened, louder and more dangerous than all the others. The battle was not finished. The sky above the Forbidden's Valley began to glow red, not from fire, but from engines. A huge shadow passed over the ruined ground as a massive alien ship lowered itself into the valley. Dust rose like smoke, and broken stones rolled away as the ship landed with a heavy thud. Ryan stood weakly beside the two alien twins. His body shook from pain. His shirt was torn, his arms were covered in cuts. But he stood tall so the children would not feel afraid. The twins held his legs tightly, hiding behind him as the ship's ramp opened with a loud hiss. A group of armed alien soldiers ran out, all wearing silver armor. Their weapons glowed blue, scanning the surroundings. They moved quickly, searching for any sign of life or death. Then she came. A tall alien woman with dark purple skin, long crystal-like hair, and sharp golden eyes stepped onto the ramp. Her presence made even the soldiers step back. Her armor was different, dark green with a glowing crest on her chest. She walked with authority and anger, her voice echoing across the ruins. "Where are my children?" Her name was General Liara, commander of the Navora Prime Defense Forces, and mother of the twins Ryan had saved. She looked fierce, unstoppable, almost terrifying. But in her eyes there was something deeper: fear. A mother's fear. The soldiers spread out, scanning the broken valley. One of them pointed toward Ryan. "General, we found something." Liara turned quickly, her heart racing. She expected to see two small lifeless bodies. She expected the worst. Every step she took felt heavier, like the world was crushing her. Then she saw them, two tiny figures standing behind a human. Alive, she froze. Her children were safe, dirty, shaking, crying, but alive. For a moment, her strong warrior mask cracked. Her eyes filled with tears. She hadn't allowed herself to cry for years. "Mama," the little girl whispered. The boy added, "We're here." Liara ran toward them. Her armor clanged against the stones as she fell to her knees and pulled both children into her arms. She held them so tightly they squeaked, but they didn't complain. They cried into her chest, their voices breaking. Ryan stepped back respectfully, giving them space. He felt relief wash over him, pure, warm relief. Liara kissed their heads, whispering something in their language. Then she slowly stood and looked at Ryan. For a few seconds, she only stared. A human, bloody, exhausted, standing among the ashes of hundreds of monsters, holding a metal chain as if it were a heroic weapon. No human in her entire life had ever done something like this. Ryan looked down, confused by her stare. "They needed help," he said quietly. "I just couldn't walk away." Liara stepped closer. She examined the cuts on his arms, the bruises on his face, the ripped clothes, the exhaustion in his eyes. He looked like someone who had fought a war alone. "You saved my children," she said softly, so softly the soldiers could hardly believe it. General Liara never spoke softly. "Why?" Ryan shrugged lightly. "They were scared," Liara blinked. That answer was too simple. Too pure, too human. She had expected a demand for reward or honor. She had expected arrogance. She had expected him to brag. But he simply said, "They were scared." Something inside her shifted. The twins clung to Ryan's pants next, refusing to leave him. "Mama, he protected us," the boy whispered. "He fought all the monsters." "Yes," the girl added. "He didn't run." Not even once. The soldiers exchanged shocked looks. A human had survived in the Forbidden's Valley. A human had killed monsters even their strongest troops couldn't handle. A human had protected two Nivern children without hesitation. Liara felt a strange mix of emotions, gratitude, surprise, and something deeper she couldn't name yet. She stepped forward and did something no soldier expected. General Liara bowed her head, not a small bow, a deep bow, a bow of honor, a bow of respect. Ryan's eyes widened. He didn't know alien customs, but he understood this was not normal. "You don't have to. I must," Liara said firmly. "My people bow only to those who save our bloodline. You protected my children with your life. That is a debt no treasure can repay." The twins looked at Ryan with shining eyes. They grabbed his hands and pulled him closer to their mother, like they were showing him off. Liara looked at him again, her golden eyes softening. "Human, you are not leaving this valley as a stranger. You are leaving as a protector of my family." Ryan felt speechless. No one had ever called him that before. Then, far in the distance, a deep roar echoed through the mountains, the same roar he heard earlier. Liara turned her head sharply. "The monsters are not finished," she said. Ryan took a slow breath. Neither was he. The alien ship rose slowly from the Forbidden's Valley, lifting dust, ashes, and broken stones into the air. Ryan sat inside the main cabin with the twins holding onto his arms, as if letting go would make him disappear. Their mother, General Liara, stood near the window, watching the valley shrink below. The monster's roar still echoed in her memory. She did not trust the silence. Something about that valley felt wrong, too alive, too aware. But for now, her children were safe. The ship broke through the clouds and accelerated into the sky. Ryan had never flown in an alien vessel before. The walls glowed softly, the seats shaped themselves to his body automatically, and the air smelled like clean metal mixed with something sweet. The twins giggled every time Ryan looked surprised. "You've never been in a sky cruiser?" the girl asked. Ryan shook his head. "No, humans don't have ships like this." The boy pointed at a floating orb near Ryan's seat. "Press that, and it gives candy." Ryan pressed it carefully, and a small cube of fruit candy popped out. The twins burst into laughter when Ryan almost dropped it out of shock. Liara watched this from a distance. She wasn't used to seeing her children laugh this much. She wasn't used to seeing herself smile either. But the sight of Ryan reacting to the ship like a curious child made her lips curve slightly. She turned her head away quickly. Generals weren't supposed to smile. When the ship entered Navora Prime's atmosphere, Ryan's eyes widened again. The capital city was massive floating platforms, glowing towers, bridges made of light, and thousands of alien citizens moving through the sky in small hoverpods. Liara approached him. "Welcome to the Nivern capital." Ryan stared in amazement. "This is beautiful." Liara felt a strange pride in his reaction. The ship landed on a high platform decorated with banners that glowed with alien symbols. Soldiers lined up on both sides, standing straight as Liara stepped out with her children. But something unexpected happened next. The twins refused to leave Ryan's hands. So the entire capital watched as General Liara walked forward with her children, holding tightly onto a human explorer, like he was their personal guardian. Whispers spread instantly across the platform. "Is that a human? He survived the Forbidden's Valley? He saved the General's children? Impossible. No human could do that." Ryan heard every whisper. He felt uncomfortable, almost embarrassed, but the twins squeezed his hands tighter to make him feel safe. Liara raised her hand sharply, and the whispers stopped. "Bring medics for the human," she ordered. 4 alien medics ran to Ryan, scanning his injuries with glowing devices. Ryan tried to push them away gently. "I'm fine," Liara cut him off. "You are not fine. You need healing." Her tone was strict, but her eyes were soft. Ryan nodded, realizing this was not an argument he could win. The medics healed the cuts on his arms, the bruises on his ribs, and the burn marks on his shoulders. A warm blue light wrapped around his skin, closing wounds instantly. Ryan exhaled deeply. He hadn't realized how much pain he had been hiding. After the healing, Liara guided Ryan into the palace. It was grand, built from shining green stone that shifted colors when touched by light. The floors were cold and smooth, the walls carved with history of ancient battles and victories. Ryan noticed statues of famous alien warriors, but none of them looked as fierce or alive as Liara. Inside the council hall, high-ranking leaders gathered. They sat in large glowing chairs, their eyes sharp and curious. They examined Ryan as if he was a legendary creature. One leader spoke. "Human, is it true you fought alone against creatures of the valley?" Ryan scratched the back of his neck. "Well, I didn't fight alone. The kids warned me when monsters came from behind." The council gasped, not because of the danger, but because Ryan spoke humbly. They expected him to boast. Liara stepped forward. "He protected my children with his life. He fought until the monsters turned to ash. He deserves our respect," the council murmured. Another leader asked, "What do you want as reward, human?" Ryan blinked. "Reward? I didn't do it for that. Liara looked at him, waiting to hear his answer. "I just didn't want the kids to die," Ryan said simply. Silence filled the hall. Aliens who believed humans were weak saw something they had never seen before. A human who fought like a warrior but spoke like a gentle father. Liara felt something tighten in her chest. She wasn't supposed to feel emotions during council meetings, but the way Ryan stood there, humble and strong, shook her. The twins ran to Ryan again and hugged him in front of the whole council. "Can he stay with us, Mama?" the girl asked loudly. "Please, Mama," the boy added. The entire hall turned to General Liara. Her heart pounded. She looked at Ryan, and for the first time in years, the unbreakable general did not know what to say. Ryan had been given a guest room inside the Crystal Palace, but he never felt like a guest. Every hour, someone knocked to bring food, blankets, new clothes, or warm tea made from glowing alien herbs. Every soldier he passed bowed to him with respect. Every servant whispered his name like he was a myth. But Ryan didn't care about any of that. He cared about two small things, two little aliens who visited him every morning before sunrise. The twins burst into his room at dawn again, climbing on his bed with laughter. The girl hugged him like she planned to stay forever. The boy brought him a small drawing he had made Ryan, holding a metal chain in one hand and the twins in the other. Ryan smiled softly. "You made this?" The boy nodded proudly. "You're our hero." Ryan's heart warmed. He wasn't a hero. He didn't feel like one, but he didn't say that. Instead, he ruffled the boy's hair and said, "Thank you." General Liara entered the room moments later. She wore new armor today, dark blue with a golden crest. Her soldiers straightened immediately when she walked in. But when she saw the twins clinging to Ryan, her stern expression softened. "You two should let him rest," she said. "No." The twins shouted at the same time, hugging Ryan tighter. Liara sighed. "They have not acted this happy in years," she said quietly, almost to herself. Ryan stood up slowly. His body was still sore. "I don't mind. They helped me too." Liara raised an eyebrow. "They helped you? They gave me courage," Ryan answered. Liara looked away quickly, pretending she wasn't touched by his words. Later that day, Liara brought Ryan to the training arena. Hundreds of elite alien warriors were practicing, their weapons glowing and spinning with deadly precision. Liara wanted Ryan to watch, maybe learn, maybe understand the strength of her people. But something unexpected happened. When Liara asked a soldier to spar with Ryan gently, the human moved with surprising speed. He dodged, blocked, and threw controlled hits with perfect timing. The soldiers stared in shock. Humans were supposed to be slow, weak, below average. But this human moved with a strange instinct, raw, natural, fearless. Liara watched silently, her eyes narrowing in focus. Ryan wasn't showing off. He was simply trying his best not to embarrass himself. But every time he moved, every time he reacted before the soldier even attacked, Liara felt her heart race a little faster. Who was this man? How could someone so humble be so strong? After the sparring, Ryan sat on the bench catching his breath. Liara approached him with a towel. You fought better than half my army, she said. Ryan wiped his face. I just fought to survive. Lyra's voice dropped. You fought like someone who has lost something important. Ryan froze. His eyes lowered. For a moment, a shadow crossed his face. Maybe, he said quietly. Lyra didn't push him. But she felt something, a connection forming. Something she did not understand, yet could not ignore. Days passed. The twins refused to let Ryan sleep anywhere except in the palace wing closest to them. They brought him toys, stories, glowing fruit candies, and even small flowers that hummed with energy. Ryan taught them human hand games. They taught him simple Nivran words. They laughed together. They ate together. They walked the palace gardens together. Lyra watched all of this secretly from the balcony above. With emotions she did not want to admit, a human was bonding with her children. Her children were bonding with him, and she felt something growing inside her heart as well. Something warm. Something dangerous. One night, she could no longer hold back. She found Ryan alone on the balcony, looking at the glowing city. The wind played gently with his hair. The stars reflected in his eyes. He looked peaceful but lonely. Lyra stepped beside him. You never asked for anything, she said. Ryan glanced at her. Why would I? Because you saved my children, she replied softly. On my world. That means you can ask for anything. Ryan looked away toward the stars. I don't need anything. Lyra took a slow breath. She was a warrior, a commander, someone who feared nothing, but tonight she felt nervous. What do you want, Ryan? She asked quietly. Not treasure, not medals, something real. Tell me. He stayed silent for long seconds. Then he whispered, I wanted to save them. That's all. Lyra's heart tightened painfully. She took a step closer, then another, until she stood so close she could hear his breathing. No, she said softly. There must be something. Ryan looked into her golden eyes. For the first time, something unspoken passed between them, something delicate, something confusing, something powerful. I don't know what I want, he admitted. Not yet, Lyra's voice lowered. Then let me help you find it. Before Ryan could answer, a loud alarm suddenly echoed across the palace. Red lights flashed along the walls. Soldiers shouted orders. Lyra's eyes widened. The valley monsters were here, and this time, they didn't come alone. The alarm echoed like a scream through every hall of the Crystal Palace. Red lights flashed across the walls, turning the normally calm corridors into rivers of warning. Soldiers ran in formation, weapons glowing bright blue. Servants hurried to secure doors. The twins, who were sleeping minutes ago, woke up crying in fear. Ryan and Lyra were still on the balcony when the first explosion shook the ground. Boom! Dust fell from the ceiling. The glass railing trembled. Ryan pushed Lyra behind him without thinking. What's happening? He asked. Lyra's voice was cold and full of fear. They followed us. Who? The valley creatures. But something else too. Something stronger. Before Ryan could ask another question, Lyra grabbed his wrist and pulled him toward the inner palace. Come, we must get to the children. Ryan didn't hesitate. He followed her through the twisting corridors, past soldiers preparing for battle. The closer they got to the twins' room, the louder the alarms became. Another explosion hit the palace wall. The floor shook violently. A large crack split across the tiles. Ryan felt the shockwave hit his chest like a punch. He stumbled but kept moving. They reached the children's room just as two guards tried to calm the terrified twins. The moment the kids saw Ryan, they ran to him and clung to his legs. Ryan! The girl cried. They're coming! They're coming! The boy trembled. We heard roaring outside the window. Lyra knelt and held them close. I promise I won't let anything hurt you. Ryan looked out the window. His chest tightened. The city outside was burning. Floating platforms cracked in half. Glow bridges shattered like glass. Alien citizens ran in panic. Hoverpods crashed into buildings, and far in the distance, Ryan saw them. Dozens of the shadow monsters crawling across rooftops, hundreds climbing towers, thousands flooding into the city from every direction. But these were not the same creatures from the valley. They were bigger, faster, stronger. Their blue jaws burned brighter, and their bodies dripped with dark energy that felt alive. Liara stood beside him, eyes wide with shock. "The valley changed them," she whispered. Ryan clenched his fists. "And they want revenge." A guard rushed in. "General, they broke through the outer shield." Liara grabbed her weapon, a long spear that pulsed with green light. "Bring me battlefield reports." The guard hesitated. "General, there's more." "What?" Liara demanded. "The monsters. They are moving in a pattern, not random. Like someone is controlling them." Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. Something worse than monsters had awakened. Liara turned to the twins. "You two must go to the bunker." "No," the boy cried. "We don't want to leave Ryan. We want him with us." The girls sobbed. Ryan knelt beside them. "I'll come back. I promise." But his voice trembled slightly, because he didn't know if he could keep that promise. Liara placed her hand on his shoulder. "The bunker is safe. Go with them." Ryan shook his head. "I'm fighting." Liara stared at him for a long moment. Her golden eyes searched his face, reading the fear, the courage, the determination. "You almost died in the valley." "I survived," Ryan replied. "I'll survive again." Liara lowered her voice. "I don't want you to die." Ryan froze. She didn't mean as a general. She meant as a woman. As a mother watching her children bond with him, as someone who had begun to care. Ryan swallowed hard. "Then fight beside me." Lyra's breath caught, but she nodded. She turned to the soldiers. "Send the children to the bunker. And prepare emergency shields for the palace." The twins cried as they were carried away, reaching their arms toward Ryan. "Come back, promise." Ryan forced a smile. "I promise." Their voices echoed down the hall as the soldiers took them away. Liara led Ryan to the upper battle platform. From there, they saw the full horror of the attack. Giant shadow beasts smashed through buildings. Smaller creatures swarmed like insects. A massive one taller than the palace roared toward the city center. Ryan held his metal chain, the same one from the valley. It felt heavier now, almost alive with energy. Liara glanced at it. "That weapon, why do you still use it?" Ryan gave a small grin. "It worked last time." Liara almost smiled, but then another explosion hit below them. The roof shook. A huge shadow creature leaped onto the battle platform, landing with a roar that sent soldiers flying. Ryan stepped forward. "Looks like round 2. Liara spun her spear, energy crackling around her. "We fight together." The monster charged. Ryan and Liara charged back. The city screamed. The sky burned. And the human who saved alien children now fought to save an entire world. The monster on the platform lunged forward with a roar so loud the air itself seemed to split. Ryan and Liara moved together, two warriors from two different worlds fighting side by side. Ryan ducked under the first claw, swinging his metal chain around the creature's burning jaw. Liara jumped high, her spear glowing with bright green energy as she stabbed it through the creature's skull. The beast collapsed, falling from the platform into the burning city below. But there was no time to breathe. More monsters climbed the tower. Soldiers screamed warnings. Explosions flashed across the city as glowing buildings shattered and hoverpods crashed from the sky. Navora Prime looked like the end of the world. Ryan wiped dust from his face. "There's too many." Liara spun her spear. "We hold them until reinforcements arrive." Ryan pointed toward the horizon. "Liara, I don't think reinforcements are coming." Dark shapes moved in the distance, hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Lyra's expression changed. For once, she looked like a mother, not a warrior. Fear for her children lit her eyes. She looked at Ryan the way someone looks at their last hope. What do we do? She whispered. Ryan stepped forward. We protect them. All of them. Another massive roar shook the palace. From the burning streets below, the largest monster they had ever seen appeared. It stood taller than any building, its body glowing with blue fire. Its jaw dripped with darkness, and its eyes burned like two suns. Each step it took cracked the ground. Lyra's voice trembled. That is the Alpha, the source of all valley beasts. Ryan's heart pounded. It came for the twins. Lyra's face turned pale. We must get to the bunker. But the Alpha monster lifted its head and unleashed a roar so powerful the palace walls shattered around them. Soldiers fell. Light bridges crumbled. Even the air cracked with blue lightning. The monster climbed the tower, heading straight toward the bunkers below, toward the children. No. Liara shouted and ran forward. Ryan grabbed her arm. Liara, wait. She looked at him with wild fear. My children, they'll die if we rush in blindly, Ryan said firmly. We need to stop that thing before it reaches them. Liara's breath shook. She nodded slowly. Together, they ran up the stairs to the highest point of the palace, the crown platform. Wind whipped around them, carrying smoke and heat from the burning city. The Alpha monster climbed toward them. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. Ryan tightened his grip on his chain. His arms still ached from the valley. His back burned from the earlier explosion. But he stood tall. Liara stood beside him. Her spear glowed so bright it hurt to look at it. If we fall, Ryan said quietly, the children fall too. Liara looked at him. For the first time, she did not see a human or an outsider. She saw something else. Something rare. Something she thought her world no longer had. A protector. Her voice softened. Then we don't fall. The Alpha roared and slammed its giant claws onto the platform. The impact knocked both of them backward, but they got up again. The monster opened its burning mouth to unleash a blast. Ryan didn't think, he just moved. He ran forward, climbed the falling debris, leaped onto the Alpha's arm, and swung his chain around its horn. The chain wrapped tight. Ryan held on with everything he had. Liara, now! Liara jumped high into the sky, her spear spinning with explosive energy. She struck downward with all her strength, stabbing the Alpha directly in its skull. A blinding explosion followed. Light swallowed everything. The ground shook violently. The monster roared in pain, stumbled, and finally collapsed, falling off the tower into the burning streets below. Silence followed. The sky slowly cleared. The roars stopped. The monsters vanished like smoke in the wind. The battle was over. Ryan lay on the platform, breathing hard, barely conscious. Liara crawled to him, her eyes wide with fear. She touched his face gently. Ryan, stay with me. He opened one eye. We made it. Liara let out a shaky breath. She wasn't a woman who cried easily, but her voice broke. Yes, because of you. Again. Soldiers arrived, cheering. The city erupted in celebration, calling Ryan's name, but Ryan only cared about one thing. When he reached the bunker, 2 tiny shapes ran toward him. Ryan! The twins screamed and hugged him so hard he almost fell. You came back. You kept your promise. He smiled weakly and held them close. Liara stepped behind the children. Her eyes were soft, warm, almost glowing. She took a deep breath and spoke loudly enough for everyone around to hear. Ryan Hawley saved not just my children, but all of Nivora Prime. In our culture, such a person becomes more than a hero. He becomes family. Ryan blinked in shock. Family? Liara stepped closer. Her fingers gently touched his hand. My home belongs to you now. My people honor you. And my heart. She paused, gathering courage. My heart chooses you. The twins cheered. Soldiers bowed. The crowd erupted. Ryan stood speechless. touched in a way he never expected. He had come to save 2 small children. He ended up saving a world and gaining a family he never dreamed of.